I'm actually happy to answer that question and correct the facts. And let's be clear, the San Francisco Chronicle didn't run a story. There is a gossip column, a political gossip column in the San Francisco Chronicle called Mateer and Ross. That's who ran the story. Let's start with that. And what it said was that I was paid to oppose Proposition 61, and it was that I was going to lead the California Democratic Party not to support Prop 61. Let me be clear. I'm a partner in a firm with multiple partners. We each have our own clients. I did not accept Proposition 61. I did not speak about Proposition 61. I never came to any Central Committee or Democratic Club and spoke about Proposition 61. I did not call one delegate and say, don't vote for Proposition 61. And when the endorsement vote occurred in the Resolutions Committee, I was not there. So those are the true facts. The problem is this is not how it's presented. And nobody wants to hear the truth. Yes?
No, I came to hear the truth, and so to add on to her question is, you didn't make one phone call. You said that I'm a nurse as well, and so it's near and dear to my heart that prescription drugs have a care.
Right.
They're near to my heart. So you just made an excellent point. You didn't call one delegate. You didn't do virtually anything to me. And something that is very important, especially to Kern County, where she just said 52%
Right.
of our population is on some type of.
So let me say this. And nobody ever has asked me, by the way, what my position on Proposition 61 was.
Well, there was.
But no, it was not clear. How is it clear? If I didn't say anything one way or the other, you don't know what my position was. But that said, let's talk about what Prop 61 actually did. It affected 11% of people in California. It did not affect 85% of people on Medi-Cal. The person who wrote the bill exempted his own pharmacies from that bill. These programs that he takes money from to provide care were all exempt from that program. And the legislative analysts of the state of California could not figure out whether or not people would in fact save money from it. Okay? Now, I could argue either side of Proposition 61, and I often said this. I could easily argue that is a starting point that would raise attention. I could make that argument. And I could also clearly argue that it was not a real solution, that it was about a fight between Michael Weinstein and the County of Los Angeles. But I never did that. I never made those arguments. But I'll tell you what I do have. I have a 30-year record of being out advocating for single-payer health care. I have a record of having fought the pharma companies for years. I have a record for being the guy. You could call Governor Gray Davis right now, and he'll tell you who stood up and fought to protect the AIDS drug assistance program in the administration. It was me. So if anybody wants to look at my record, not at one gossip column that was in Mateer and Ross, that's a different story.
We have a last question, please. Does someone have one?
I got one. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. We had elections in November, and maybe half the people showed up or more and voted. And then a few months later, there's another election in LA, and 12% of the people showed up.
20%.
20%? All right, a big drop anyway. Some people think that it's a good idea to sync the elections up so that all of the elections happen in November. Do you think that's a good idea? And if so, how could we do it?
So we've actually passed we've done two things. One, in the city of Los Angeles, we brought that as a ballot measure and passed it. And beginning in 2020, the city of Los Angeles' elections will be consolidated. Now, by the way, there are people who think that this is a problem, that there are negatives to this. I don't. At the state level, legislation was passed to essentially move all elections to consolidation, at least for those covered under the elections code, the state elections code. There's an upside and a downside to this. When you have an election like 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles, no surprises, it's nothing very exciting. The mayor was a shoo-in to get reelected. There was one competitive city council district. As it turns out, there's two competitive districts. because one of the most progressive members of the city council got forced into a runoff by another progressive, which is weird. And the most exciting part about the election was Proposition S, also brought by Michael Weinstein, by the way, and also defeated by voters. If you have a ballot this long, the fear is that people won't go down the ballot. And if you think about our ballot guide this past year, think about it for just a second. It was like a phone book. 17 ballot measures. Imagine if you're a city candidate and you're down at the bottom of that. So at the LA Dem Party, when we were doing our endorsements both on the local measure and in support of the state legislation, we wrestled with this. Is it worth the fight to get people to read down the ballot? I think at the end of the day it is worth the fight. I think at the end of the day, here's the most egregious example I can tell you of an election. Special election to fill the assembly seat that covers Pomona. 9% of registered voters turned out. That means roughly 7.5% of eligible voters turned out, right? Because 72% are registered. And one candidate won with 56% of the vote. So we got an assembly member with 56% of 7.5% of the electorate. That's not representative democracy.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming out.